Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for our weekly 6-scale recap series, where we'll be taking a look at teases, pre-order announcements, releases for the week, anything newsworthy in the 6-scale world that might not have merited its own video. And today's installment is going to be a little different. Sure, we have some announcements and releases, but we're in the start of convention season. So there have been some reveals that we'll touch on. And as we go through, I'll tell you which have me excited and which I don't think will even see the light of day. But before starting and getting into things for this week, have to go into the mandatory disclaimer. I'm sorry if that bugs you, but there's a reason I'm doing that. But anyway, I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. I'm not affiliated with any resellers either. And I'm not using this as a sales post, which is why I don't post links for purchasing these. The purpose of these videos is just to discuss interesting news posted on social media that impacts 6-scale figure collecting. And in particular, things I find interesting, topics I want to discuss, or products that I'm tempted to get for my own collection. And I do think once pictures go public for announcement, it's pretty much up for discussion. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into things. And we'll start with teases. And this is where we'll be covering some of the convention announcements, be it from San Diego Comic-Con or from Sideshow Con, as well as some other posts on social media. And really quick, I do have to say that I feel that for a 6-scale collector like myself, Sideshow Con was kind of a bust. Sure, there were some announcements and some reveals, but it just wasn't what we've gotten in the past, and I just didn't get the sense of excitement I've had in other years as we head into San Diego Comic-Con. And also SDCC feels like it's missing a lot, right? With major lack of 6-scale companies. I mean, I think Exo6 teased some lower deck statues. You got Mondo there. I think 3-0 previewed some figures as well, but just really no major announcements. And also with the ongoing strikes, there's an impact to the panels, and look, Marvel and DC skipped this year, so did Star Wars, so just a very different feel this year. And we haven't even gotten any convention exclusives or summer previews, so I'm guessing the summer showcase isn't happening since Hot Toys is going to be at ACGHK, so just a lot of differences. And as such, I feel like some of the most exciting announcements actually came out of social media posts. So first up, and I think it's the most exciting announcement to date, or for this week, and that's from Hot Toys, and it was a surprise because they announced that they are making a figure from Prey, the prequel to the Predator franchise. And what's funny is I made a video almost a year ago about potential figures from the movie, and of course after a year of waiting, I wasn't expecting anything. But it looks like Hot Toys is actually going to produce a 6-scale feral Predator. Now the tease is very specific, noting 6-scale collectible singular. So this will probably be a one-off. But I'm very excited to get this announcement, as this would be a day one pre-order for me. And with that in mind, I would love to see a third-party company decide to tackle Naru. I think the two paired together would be excellent. What was once in the realm of almost zero chance of happening, I think the odds have improved a little bit. Now, I do think Hot Toys will release this figure. I think the fact that they're announcing this a year after the fact means it's coming out. So again, really excited to add another Predator to the collection. Now, the next nice announcement, which really doesn't come as a surprise, is that Hot Toys will be making figures from Ahsoka, the upcoming series on Disney+. I am looking forward to watching this, but from a figure point of view, there are two potential releases that I'm looking forward to picking up. First, I'm almost 100% sure we're getting another Ahsoka. I kept waiting on the original one that got released from The Mandalorian, thinking that I might be able to get the first release for a deal, but that was a mistake since she went on waitlist pretty quickly. So I'll be happy if another figure gets released, and if it does, I'll jump on the pre-order. Now, the other figure I hope gets made is Grand Admiral Thrawn. I have the original one Sideshow made, and while I like it, I think a character like Thrawn deserves a major upgrade. And I'm hoping Hot Toys will do that. And for me, my familiarity with Thrawn is exclusively based on the Heir to the Empire book series, which is why, regardless of how the show turns out or how other people think about it, I'm just looking forward to potentially pre-ordering a new version of Thrawn, because he was one of my favorite villains in not really the canon anymore, but in the Star Wars expanded universe. Now, next tease is a new line that's kicking off with a rooted hair Return of the Sith Anakin Skywalker. So Hot Toys released these teaser images which look insane. I mean, the likeness here is just uncanny. This does seem to be a new hyper-realistic style figure, and I think there's no doubt that this is Hot Toys evolving, and this is going to be the line that's a direct contrast and response to InArt. I will say this though. Tested did a tour of the Sideshow Con floor, and they did look at this figure, and looking at it during that presentation, I don't think it looked nearly as good as it does in these promo pictures, and that might just be a case of the prototype on display needing some more work. So I'm curious to see what this looks like when it launches, and also to see the price point. I'm not really interested in the figure right now, but that's always subject to change. But I am curious again on the price, because that's going to be what might set it apart from InArt a little bit. This does feel like, again, a direct response to InArt's efforts, and that's partly why on those videos when we look at their products, at InArt's products, I think the key for them is going to be getting licenses that Hot Toys doesn't have, just to avoid that direct competition. Now, let's move on to some of the other reveals that came from Sideshow Con and SDCC, and like I said, not much to digest here, and even the reveals for the most part were pretty lackluster, but there are a few that caught my attention, with the first being MODOK from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yeah, that's right, of all the Hot Toys first looks that we got these last few days, this is actually the one that has me the most excited. First of all, I'll tell you right now, I'm almost sure this will never see the light of day. I just can't see Hot Toys actually making this. I hope it does, and I know that if it does, I'm probably one of the few that would even say that I would pre-order it. But look, Hot Toys did Morbius, and nobody really expected that. So I think there is hope. But realistically, the movie wasn't as successful as anticipated. In fact, I don't even know if it registers as successful. I liked it, and I'm sure you're rolling your eyes at me right now about this, but I'm at the point where I'm collecting new characters, and I would love to have an MCU MODOK on my display. He looked wacky in the movie, and MODOK, I think, looks really bizarre in the comics as well. So I think it's a good representation. Now, would I show the unmasked sculpt? I doubt it. I think it's a little too bizarre, although I do like that they kind of recreated the shoddy CGI look. But I think with the mask on and all the weapons, he looks pretty impressive. And I think that is part of the theme that Hot Toys had going with these, which was showcasing bigger pieces overall. This thing is actually pretty massive, especially when you see him next to the other Ant-Man figures. One thing though, no Cassie Lang figure, even though that was a figure that Hot Toys teased when they launched the pre-orders for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it does feel, you know, it's a shame that figure wasn't released or showcased. I'm not holding my breath on that one either, seeing the light of day, but it would have been, I think, an exciting announcement at least. Second favorite reveal, also for Marvel, is the new Loki with the throne. Clearly, Loki's a popular character and probably a big seller for Hot Toys. Case in point, all the figures we're getting from the Loki show. So for this set, the big draw is that throne. I have seen some third-party versions floating around that look decent, but here this one I think looks as impressive. And with the figure, I'd be very tempted to pick this setup. In fact, I would definitely pick this setup. And I do think this is likely to see the light of day because Hot Toys loves Loki. And I think if the Boba Fett and Throne set from Book of Boba Fett and the new Mark 6 with Gantry are any indication, Hot Toys isn't afraid of making these massive diorama pieces, at least not anymore. So this would be, again, a pickup, and I think it's got a lot of presence to it. Now, for the figure, I think the sculpt might be the same one used with President Loki. It looks okay, but hopefully it's something Hot Toys will improve a little bit before this actually launches. But honestly, that was kind of it for me as far as surprising or exciting announcements. I mean, I am excited that we got a chance to see the full Guardians lineup, including our first look at both Drax and Mantis in their team uniforms. And they look really good. Not sure if they've actually updated the Drax sculpt at all, but I think it looks decent. Just for me, even though I'm going to be ordering these when they go up for pre-order, and I do think they'll be going up for order, but for me, these were just expected, right? So they weren't unexpected announcements, and because of that, they weren't really exciting. I think I would have been more excited to see an Adam Warlock or even a High Evolutionary figure. Those would have been new and interesting, but we're getting two good figures here, and two figures that I'm looking to pick up, but that's really it. I mean, for Star Wars, The only two pieces that seemed interesting to me were the Sand Trooper with the dewback. That looked impressive and just massive on that big scale again. And then you had the Imperial officer with the prison detention block controls. Both look great with a lot of attention to detail. I think the dewback will be up for pre-order, definitely. I think Hot Toys has already shown that they'll create some of these creatures, but the Imperial officer, I mean, we've seen other Hot Toys teases like this with the Death Star gunner coming in with their own computer terminals, and they never got released. So I think it's possible that that officer and his control center don't make it to the pre-order stage. But again, you know, the theme here again just seemed to be Hot Toys showcasing some bigger pieces. Ultimately, it's just another trooper though, and it's just another Imperial officer. And beyond that, they showcased 2 new generic Mandos, a new armorer as well. I don't know that there was anything else. They had some life-size figures. Just nothing that really sparked my interest, and it just overall felt like a little bit of a letdown. So now that takes us to announcements for the week. And you know, that letdown kind of continues. We just had one announcement this week, and that was from Exo-6, where they launched their Major Kira figure from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Let me start by saying, I feel like I cut Exo-6 a lot of slack. In large part, that's because they're tackling a license that really isn't as popular as Marvel, Star Wars, or even DC. So for me, as a huge Star Trek fan, it's nice to have somebody tackling the license. And to date, I do feel like in hand their figures tend to be better than the prototypes that they use for the product photography. And I really hope that continues to be the case here, because I do have a few issues with this announcement. The most prominent being the sculpt. There's one picture in the entire set where I look at this and I think, that looks like Kira. But then in the other shots, I just don't think it looks like her. I might be totally wrong here and blind, so if you disagree with me, please let me know. And you know, it's just my opinion. I'm just not feeling the sculpt. There's definitely decent detail work, and it does seem like the paint apps are improving, but still just feels lacking. And then her earring, I think it's plastic. I would have liked to have seen actual metal. I mean, Damn Toys does that all the time with their Gangsters Kingdom figures. And sure, the Exo-6 CEO said it would have added cost, so this could be a post-release modification. It just seems like a little bit of a shame. Now the other thing, and maybe it's just the lighting for the pictures, but I think the grid on her uniform over her shoulders just looks really dark. I haven't watched DS9 in a while, so I'd have to check the show. Plus Kira did go through different uniforms, so I'm not sure how accurate that is. I wish I could be more excited for this one. Will I be getting her? Absolutely. I want the DS9 crew, and I already have Cisco, so he needs his first officer. But I do feel like Exo-6 isn't giving some of these figures the same treatment that others get. For example, the Data figure looks amazing and looks so good. It just feels like this one is a little bit lagging behind. So yeah, I'll be ordering and reviewing, but I'm curious how the release is going to turn out. And that was it for announcements, so definitely a light week for that. But we did get 2, or technically 3, actual releases. And again, all 3 from Hot Toys. And I will actually be getting all 3. So first up, to conclude the Loki Season 1 line, Hot Toys released the classic Loki. And I think it turned out pretty well. Some of the pictures I'm not sure of. Something seems a little off. But then there are others where the sculpt looks amazing. And I do love the accessories with the Frog Thor and Alligator Loki, but I do wish Hot Toys had been able to keep the Chalice for the set. But I think, again, overall a solid release, and I love the shot where you see the entire lineup for the Loki show, since the 4 figures look great standing next to each other. So I have had this on pre-order since the start, and hopefully he'll start shipping soon. And the last release was the Amazing Spider-Man and the Lizard base from, well, technically from No Way Home. Now, this was a strange one because the Amazing Spider-Man is actually tagged as being a figure from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, while the base is part of the No Way Home line. So clearly some type of licensing issue that resulted in the release having to be split, but at least we're getting an Andrew Garfield version that can be used for that set and that No Way Home display. And I'm really looking forward to having these in hand. In fact, I already got my final invoice and paid for the Lizard base. And I have seen some people getting their final payment alerts for Spidey, so they're coming soon. And I do think both the figure and the base look amazing. Just like the integrated suit Tom Holland version, I think this set is going to look great. And the base looks good, and the figure turned out great. So just again shows Hot Toys is continuing to crank out these releases. And I have a bunch incoming, including TVA Loki, President Loki, Moon Knight, this Lizard base, and I wouldn't be surprised if both Classic and Thena I'm waiting for ship soon. So I'll have a nice influx of Marvel pieces shortly. And I also think invoices for Locutus from Exo 6 are coming out next week. So plenty to keep me busy. So a strange week, I think, overall. Just missing something. I think Sideshow Con was just lacking, both in excitement and in the 6-scale announcements. And I think SDCC was a little lackluster, or very lackluster this year. Especially for 6-scale figure collectors. Now, Hot Toys already dropped a teaser for the Kamen Rider line, noting that they'll be at ACGHK, so I'm hoping that's where we're going to see more releases from Hot Toys and more teases, because they are going to finally have a big booth. And hopefully, InArt might show up there as well, and I'd be very curious to see what they have to show, because I think they did say they'd be showing some new pieces. But you know, it just doesn't seem like we're getting any of the summer pre-order craziness we've gotten in the past. Will we get it before ACGHK? I'm not sure. It's actually looking kind of doubtful right now. So that was a quick look at some interesting news for the week. And again, hopefully next week at ACGHK will be a little more exciting. But for now, thanks for watching and listening to me ramble on for a bit. And if you are enjoying some of my content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.